Welcome back to the TMC Newsroom. We're going to talk about 4GWE because Paul was part of our session today. Paul Tornatta is the CTO of SkyCross. So, Paul, you scared me today, okay? We got onto the subject of getting the antenna onto the phone. And as I understood what you were telling me is at the 700 megahertz level for LTE, we're going to have problems getting a small enough form factor. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, that's accurate. The phone platform, it's typically 100 by 60 or 110 by 60 millimeter phone.
So like an iPhone,
right? Like an iPhone or a BlackBerry, whatever. A one wavelength in the around 750 megahertz is about 400 millimeters in free space.
Right.
So that platform is actually very small in terms of wavelengths. Now the problem is really about MIMO because you don't just need one antenna, you need two. So to get both antennas to perform so that their gain is roughly balanced at 700 megahertz is actually very difficult to do in a small platform. So we've developed some technology that helps to mitigate the interference between, or the crosstalk between those two antenna ports. We call it isolated mode antenna technology. It's a way to make a single antenna behave like more than one antenna by exciting two different radiating modes. So that's one way to do it. But the platform is small, right? And so the maximum efficiency that you can ever get in those frequencies out of a platform that's 100 millimeters by 60 millimeters is pretty low. You'll never get more than about 60% efficiency out of it over about 40 or 45 megahertz of bandwidth, which is what you're going to need in order to be able to support LTE with good, balanced MIMO antenna performance on a small platform.
Now, and to that end, the MIMO side, are people thinking about having more than one antenna involved? Like it's two to start, but it's also a 4x4 configuration as possible. Yeah. Are we going to see that kind of stuff too, or should we sit there and take our lumps and say it's going to be hard enough to get the two working right, and then tell me about the WiMAX side, because I got the impression that on WiMAX we don't have the same issue because of the fact that we're in a better bandwidth with more frequency.
Right. So it's unlikely that we'll see anything more than two antennas on a small platform, especially in the 700 megahertz band. But as you mentioned, the WiMAX problem is a little bit different. Here in North America, WiMAX is really in the 2.5 to 2.6 gigahertz band, and that's a much smaller wavelength. So the platforms are much larger in terms of wavelengths. So it's possible to get a 2x2 MIMO solution or a 1x2 MIMO solution working more easily on a cell phone at those frequencies. And potentially you could see a larger number of antennas. And certainly the interaction between, you're going to have to take advantage of that space on the cell phone so that you don't step all over Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, right? So you get better separation between Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and WiMAX.
So now let me get you to the real question I've got for you, okay? We're one step away from the iTablet being announced. Microsoft kind of came up with the M slate, for lack of a better term, right? Should we expect that we're going to start seeing a WiMAX LTE battle in the kind of tablet form factor, and should we expect that WiMAX is going to have some advantages there?
So the tablet form factor, even the notebook form factor, is considerably larger than the cell phone.
Right.
So there's more room to implement, good MIMO antennas, both in the 700 megahertz band and obviously in the WiMAX band. Still easier at WiMAX, right? Because you don't have to take up as much room with the antenna. But I think that the first thing that we're going to see is USB dongles. The USB dongles represent a particular challenge at 700 megahertz because they tend to be much smaller.
Right.
Right. So I think that where we'll see a lot of uptake in devices is with portable hotspots, right? The personal hotspot that you carry around with you.
I carry one myself.
Right. That box is going to be potentially the same size as your cell phone, maybe potentially for 700 megahertz, maybe even a little bit bigger to start with, right? And that's going to be, with the right technology application, a reasonable platform size to implement both WiMAX, LTE, and Wi-Fi all in the same box. So we see that as a strong direction for being able to put all of that technology into the market, LTE and WiMAX into the market, without having to burden your cell phone to carry all of that hardware with it itself.
Okay, so now before I lose you, I've got all those people out there listening to this going, damn, that's exactly the problem I got. Tell them how to reach you. Tell them about SkyCross.
Okay. SkyCross is, we design and manufacture antennas for mobile devices. Our big markets are cell phones, of course. Our biggest customer is Samsung, but we have a number of other customers that we sell our antennas into. We are privately held. I'm the Chief Technical Officer. You can reach me at paul.tornatta@skycross.com. That's my email address, best way to get a hold of me. Or you can go directly to our website and follow the chain there to get a hold of our marketing sales group.
Great. Paul, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Really
Carl.
appreciate it.
Pleasure talking to you.